My educators and parents misled me when I was a youngster. They assured me that I would steadily improve my abilities if I practiced my skills daily. Everyone told me to study every day since that's how you'll become smarter. Strength training on a daily basis will yield consistent results. Perhaps you have also heard comparable claims. Because of this, the majority of us have the subconscious belief that this is the required appearance of development when one is constant. This assumption is more than merely incorrect, as I came to learn after reading George Leonard's Mastery. And it makes you more likely to fail. The road to mastery, however, never appears to be so cutthroat. This is how it seems. This video will walk you through the meaning of this graph and provide 8 takeaways from the book that can improve your performance in any area. Skill mastery is impossible if you disregard this. At first, you'll be motivated to do anything, but then you'll lose interest and stop. Every time you start over, you'll wish things would be different, but they never are. Sure, I'll begin. The first lesson. The plateau effect, a primer. We should review that mastery graph. You will feel a brief surge of improvement when you begin to master a new skill. After this thrilling phase, things start to slow down until you reach a plateau. This plateau is better than where you began, even though you're stuck on it. A further minor jump, a subsequent decrease, and a plateau await those who persevere for an adequate amount of time. You have witnessed this firsthand if you have ever attempted to shed pounds. In week 1, you lose 4 pounds. Week 2 is when you get to back. Week 3 is a complete bust. The plateau is here. After reaching a plateau, most people just stop trying. All the time they hope for betterment. There is more of a pattern to mastery than a straight line, after which remaining put for an extended period. Nearly all the time on the road to mastery is occupied by the plateau, where you don't notice any improvement. Becoming an expert takes time and effort. But these days, not everyone can or will stay patient during such times of plateauing progress. Here we are at the second lesson, which is the following step. Some solutions are more appealing than others. Society maintains that there is no plateau on the road to mastery. On the contrary, it appears as follows. A series of climaxes, words like instant noodles, instant millionaire, instant money, and instant are constantly bombarding us. Everything needs to happen lightning quickly. Instead of dieting, we'd rather drink a magical tea that causes us to shed 11 pounds in only 1 week. If we want to keep our hearts healthy, we should avoid exercising. Our dream operation would be a $30,000 chest split. It seems that this, nevertheless, is irrelevant. This is a fast solution, at least. There is no magic solution, that much is true. If that's the case, then what's the optimal way to become an expert? The act of practicing itself should be enough for you. As the author puts it, we need to drill the new motion into our muscles until it becomes automatic, or muscle memory. Doing things quickly or constantly isn't what it takes to be a master. How you deal with a plateau is key. Which frame of mind are you bringing to the discussion? The curious, the fixated, or the hacker? In the next class, we will discover the answer. Just so you know, you're about to see a reflection of yourself, so pay great attention. The third lesson centers on the 3 main personality types. I am the dabbler, number 1. The dabbler is always trying something new, whether it's a hobby or a profession. The novelty excites him. He gets elated whenever he achieves even a small amount of success. However, the plateau follows. His enthusiasm wanes. He begins to neglect his education. He begins to question whether he really wants to do this. He leaves to begin a new chapter in his life. Professional lives are hardly an exception. Enthusiastic at first, but then, oh dear, another plateau. Perhaps this position isn't fit for me. I need to take a fresh look around. The dabbler's CV is lengthy. Second, the compulsive. Its name says it all. The obsessive is completely preoccupied with something. He is unconcerned with the method of acquisition because he enjoys the outcomes. Obtain it immediately. After class, he continues to chat with the teacher. He wants to know what resources, such books and courses, he may purchase to advance more quickly. The compulsive begins by accomplishing a lot. However, he refuses to acknowledge reaching a plateau. The compulsive person will increase their effort level double if the dabbler stops when they reach a plateau. No, the plateau is not for him. By challenging himself, he achieves more. He puts in nights of labor. In order to get things done quickly, he uses shortcuts. After all the ups and downs, he ends up hurting himself from trying too hard. He gives up and stops trying so hard. Third on the list is the hacker. The hacker's demeanor is distinct. He's content to remain on the plateau and isn't eager to push himself to the next level. He makes some headway, then hits a wall and doesn't move anymore. He is indifferent. He gets a kick out of staying still. At work, he merely gets by, quits early, takes breaks frequently, speaks instead of working, and bemoans the fact that he isn't promoted. Just to review, once the dabbler reaches a plateau, they get terrified and give up pursuing something else. The fixated one will not settle with a plateau. He puts forth twice as much effort, gets hurt, and then gives up due to exhaustion. After the hacker reaches a certain point, he becomes comfortable and stops trying to get through. The author claims that during his seminars, he often has participants raise their hands to indicate which of these three options best describes them. Almost without exception, the answer is divided into approximately even thirds. Guess which one you are? Rather than pointing out your shortcomings, these three characters will guide you toward mastery. Once you identify your type, you can modify your approach when you reach a plateau. There is one more formidable obstacle standing between you and success, in addition to the plateau and these three characters. Homeostasis is the name for this internal force. I'll go into detail about it in our next class. Understanding homeostasis is the topic of the fourth lesson. This family of 5 includes an alcoholic father. The family is in utter disarray whenever he drinks. The usual condition is hence chaos. The dad chose to cut back on his alcohol consumption for unknown reasons. You can assume that everything will work out for the best for the family. But another family member, maybe the youngest, may do something to cause mayhem in the family within a few months. What causes this to occur? The reason behind this is homeostasis. Maintaining the status quo, regardless of how unhealthy or unpleasant it may be, is the goal of homeostasis. For instance, your body will likely accept a 20-year exercise-free period as normal. Something may occur as soon as you begin exercising. It is possible that you may have lightheadedness. Perhaps there is an anxious sensation within. That is the signal being sent by homeostasis, which is trying to prevent change. Your mind and body are always attempting to maintain a state of homeostasis. It isn't only functional at the molecular level, as seen in our own cells. On a larger scale, it functions similarly, whether in a household or a nation. Our culture may seem resistant to change, but homeostasis seeks to maintain status quo conditions, regardless of how poor they may be. As far as anyone can tell, it is resistant to change. As in the case of the alcoholic parent or the unpleasant sensation that comes with beginning an exercise routine, it can sneakily retaliate. How can we alter things if homeostasis exists? In the 5th and last lesson, I will elaborate on that. Homeostasis managed in 3 ways. Get a feel for homeostasis's operation first. Friends and relatives may put up opposition in various ways, whether it's psychological, social, or physical. Put it this way. You're always given a plate, but now you're changing. Your new morning routine has you arriving at the office at 8 in the morning instead of 9, which is a significant change. No one you know wants to see you hurt, but they may be resistant to change. Never lose sight of the fact that this is simply equilibrium in action. Secondly, know that your opposition to change is a bargaining chip. So, what's your next move? Remain resolute. You have no idea when or where the opposition will appear. Do you feel it within or externally because of other people? Continue to be vigilant. Make use of that pushback. It's an indication that you're growing. Thirdly, establish a network of helpful people. Find those who can relate, whether they are going through the same things you are or have been through comparable experiences. This might take the form of an online community, a friend, or even a mentor. In times of need, these individuals can provide counsel, recount personal stories, and boost morale. When the want to return to old habits arises, having supportive individuals by your side can be a game changer. With your newfound knowledge of plateau, the 3 personality types, and homeostasis, you're likely miles ahead of the rest of us. But hold for a second. I've got 10 obstacles that will put a damper on your enthusiasm. Number 6 on the list, 10 obstacles to overcome before reaching mastery. Inconsistency is the first. All right, I get it. Consistency is key. I will not dispute your position on this. What I'm trying to get across is the danger of blind constancy, though. Permit me to elucidate. Someone I knew had a YouTube channel like this one where he summarized books. After making a couple videos, he wanted my feedback on his channel. The moment I started watching a video, I saw some people were complaining about the sound. Some additional problems also surfaced. So I voiced my opinions on everything that I felt could be enhanced. Surprisingly, he had maintained a regular upload schedule for the entire 9 months that I had unintentionally discovered his channel. But when I watched one of his more recent videos, I saw that he was still struggling with the same issues. He was reliable, that much is true, but he never got better. He was unwavering. Complaints were never heard by him. This is absolute consistency, in my opinion. Indeed, consistency is key. It is important to pause, reflect, and refine with each iteration. The next time you find yourself mired in a rut, remind yourself to assess your situation and consider adjusting your strategy. Second, insufficient teacher guidance. You enroll in a free course to learn website development, but the teacher omits essential information, fails to cover the fundamentals, and employs antiquated tools. As a result, you start to question your independence and feel disoriented and angry. It is not you, but the inadequate guidance that is the problem. Keep in mind that you and not your teacher are ultimately responsible for receiving quality training. Thirdly, contrasting lifestyles. Your present line of work may not align with your life goals. Imagine you have a full-time job as a project manager and a full-time university course load, but you're really interested in starting a YouTube channel. Because of the time and effort you put into your career and school, you won't have much energy to devote to your side project, which is a conflict. For me, it was the complete opposite. Although it's not ideal, this is the situation in which most of us find ourselves today. We need to figure out how to make ends meet while also pursuing our ambition. You too must make concessions and come up with innovative answers if you are likewise confronted with the same problem. Regrettably, there is simply no alternative solution. One thing that helped me was getting up early to work on a side project for 2 hours before heading to work. Before I ever worked for someone else, I made sure I was self-employed. Perfectionism is the fourth. There are times when our expectations are so lofty that no one could possibly live up to them. To be a master, one need not be flawless. It's about going somewhere. Give me an example from my own life. When it came time to fill open positions, I used to be a bit of a perfectionist. It was more of an unconscious assumption on my part that anybody I employed would be perfectly capable of running the show with minimal oversight. My original plan was to do nothing and let them take it from there. I would become irritated and disappointed, though, if they fell short of that unattainable perfect mark. Either I or they would be to blame. I didn't recognize that my own expectations were the root of the problem until I stepped back. Everything changed after I dropped my bar to 80%. It was clear to me that having someone else do 80% of the work was still quite helpful. And that 80% gradually improved, going close to 100% as we collaborated on more projects. Injury number 5. Yes, you should constantly challenge yourself to do better, but you need also be aware of your limitations. If your route to mastery is a physically demanding one, such in martial arts or athletics, injuries can derail your progress, either momentarily or permanently, so be careful not to overdo it. When you want to maximize your performance in a sport or at work, you need to listen to your body and not ignore it. Being cautious is just part of being safe. Being attuned to your body's cues is also important. It's like operating a vehicle. Driving gently isn't enough. The dashboard warning lights are another thing you keep an eye out for. Number 6. Egotism. A major roadblock on the way to mastery is vanity, which is defined as the desire to appear good in the eyes of other people. Avoiding challenges, new experiences, and failures is the result of worrying too much about other people's opinions of you. You might be afraid that others will look down on you if you ask a question during a work meeting. As a result, you may avoid doing so. Thereby, you maintain your silence. For example, if you enroll in a boxing class, you may become preoccupied with your appearance to the point that you neglect to train your technique. You won't improve if you're too worried about appearing foolish. If you want to be a true master, you shouldn't be scared to make a fool of yourself. Overly competitiveness is number 7. The master who is solely concerned with victory will ultimately fail. You know what they say? Winning isn't everything. It's a common misconception that it's the only thing. Winning takes precedence above everything else, including practice, ethics, discipline, and character. There are more people who lose out when people are too competitive. I don't know how many athletes who would go on to win Olympic medals quit because their coaches insisted that winning means nothing more than beating the school across town. And winning is more important than how you play. Please understand, although it isn't the be-all and end-all, winning is a crucial component of the journey. Just as seasoning food with salt and pepper enhances its flavor, so does competition in life. Seasoning just salt and pepper, however, is insufficient. The mark of a real master is the ability to win and lose gracefully. A preoccupation with achieving one's goals ranks 8th. You must know that the summit is ahead if you wish to climb a mountain. But look away from it for a while. Stay focused on the road ahead. Set smaller, more manageable goals. Aim for $1,000, then $10,000, and finally $20,000 instead of staring at your $1 million target. The 9th item is awards and recognition. Your path to mastery might be slowed or halted if you rely too much on external inspiration. Gold stars were used as incentives in research to motivate children to do well. At first, this inspired them to put forth more effort. Despite receiving additional stars, their progress slowed down with time. While the kids were initially more motivated to learn, they quickly grew more concerned with getting stars, proving that rewards don't really increase performance in the long run. The only thing that may motivate genuine development is an inward thirst for knowledge, not merely material gain. 10th point, lighten up a bit. Have fun. The greatest medicine, they say, is laughing. Let your guard down every once in a while and enjoy the journey to mastery. The 7th lesson is all about embracing the plateau. Everyone told us that if we did well in school and got excellent marks, we could go to college and obtain a good job when we were young. In order to move on to the next step, we were repeatedly instructed to do something. We learned to focus on the end goal and to always be on the lookout for something new. However, nobody stressed the importance of savoring and appreciating the plateau moment. Our current way of living is thus: even though you're hurried to get ready, that's not what matters. The next thing you know, you're rushing through breakfast, even if it doesn't really matter. After that, you have to dash off to work, but that's not all. It's as if all the things we do between the big things are simply a nuisance. These transitional periods are analogous to the plateau. Most of life, if you give it some thought, is between those two extremes. A day, for instance, consists of 24 hours. Our yearly allotment is 8,760 hours. A National Football League game lasts 16 hours during the regular season when there are no playoffs. Does this imply that the gamer spends the other 8,744 hours of the year in between? While it is true that Zen students mostly meditate, we also learned that they meditate while doing household chores like washing dishes and dusting the courtyard. In Zen practice, mundane tasks like sweeping and washing dishes are not seen as intermissions. Even the smallest details are taken into account. For success in life and in our pursuit of mastery, it is the attitude we must adopt. So take pleasure in the motion the next time you wash the dishes. Your in-between times don't need to be rushed. I see. We're about there.